Hello, everybody. Today we are going to talk about problem solving using ratios and proportions. So, this is just a little review lesson today. Should be really easy for you. Remember, a proportion is an equation that relates two ratios or sets two fractions equal to each other. Just like this right here. Okay, here I have two fractions equal to each other. That's a proportion. So, sometimes it can be written like this. A, and this is read, A is to B as C is to D. It means exactly the same thing as A over B equals C over D. And it's also an equation that relates to ratios. Now, when it's written like this, A is to B as C is to D, the two middle numbers are called the means because they're near the mean. Two outside numbers are called extremes because they're on the outside, they're extreme, right? They're on the edges or the periphery. And we use that to talk about the means extremes property. Okay, which says the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. So anytime I have a fraction like this, where A over B equals C over D, that means that A times D has to be equal to C times D, or else it's not a true proportion. Okay, so we can use that to solve something like this. 3 over y is 5 over 8. Okay, so these are the means, these are the extremes. So I can say that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. So 5y is equal to 24. Y is equal to 24 over 5. And so y is 4.8. Okay, so if I put 4.8 in here, those two fractions are equal. Now, I don't usually do it that way. I go straight to this. I know that I can go straight to y equals, because it will always equal, no matter how the proportions arrange, wherever the variable is. I can take the two numbers diagonal from each other, multiply them together, divide by the other number. And I will get the same thing as I get here. So this would be 24 over 5, which again is 4.8. Okay, so piece of cake. Okay, now this thing is a little tougher. So it's tougher because we have variables all over the place in this thing. But I can still use the means extremes property. X times x is x squared, should equal 2 times x plus 4. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and distribute this in here. X squared equals 2x plus 8. I'm going to move these things over here with the x squared. Subtract the 2x, subtract the 8, then it equals 0. This is just a quadratic equation, which I can solve by factoring. Okay, so my x goes here and here. I need factors of 8 that equal negative 2. How about let's make this negative 4 and positive 2. Always check that the signs work, so a positive times a negative is a negative, so there we go. This tells me that x plus 2 has to equal 0, so x is negative 2. Whoops. Uh-oh. Let's undo that. And let's try a smaller eraser. Okay. X is negative 2. And over here, x minus 4 equals 0, so that tells me that x is 4. Now, what you should do with these quadratics is you should always check that these both work in here so I don't have an extraneous answer. So I plug 4 in here, I would get 4 over 4 plus 4 would equal 2 over 4. And 4 over 8 would equal 2 over 4. Both of those are equal to 1/2, so that's true. And then I could go over here and I could check negative 2 over negative 2 plus 4 should equal 2 over negative 2. This is negative 2 over positive 2 equals 2 over negative 2. Both of those are equal to negative 1, so they both work. So they're both answers are good. Okay, estimate the height of the sculpture of George Washington's head. Assume the average distance from the man's chin to the top of his head is 9 inches or 0.75 feet. And they tell you that the carvings of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln are 80 times life size. Okay, so that tells me that if this, let's use feet, that'll be easier because I don't want to measure it in inches. Okay, that's a lot of inches. So 0.75 feet over 1 is going to equal x over 80. Now, why does this work out? Well, this is the man's height. Okay, this is the actual height of his head, and this is the actual height of the head of George Washington here. This is the this is how many times life size it is, and this is over 1 right here. Okay, so I can just multiply these two numbers together and divide by 1. So it's going to be 0.75 times 80 is going to be 60, and that's in feet. So this is 60 feet from here to here. Whoops. Okay, so there you go. And I don't have the assignment scanned in there yet, so I will add that, and you guys have a great evening.